Welcome to Connections. I'm your host, April Healy, and I'm sitting with my good friend, Luis Velasquez. He's actually had many roles at Bethel, Atlanta, and currently one of his most significant roles is being on second-year staff. So welcome, Luis. Thanks for sitting with me.
Oh, no, thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here, and try to share.
Oh my, I cannot wait to hear about your life. So will you start us out with your testimony, how you came to know the Lord and just everything even before that?
Yeah, well, everything happens, when I think it was in 1992, when I came to United States. I probably is gonna surprise a lot of people there. I came illegally. Yeah. Yes. So because I came here to United States because I have friends that they were here in Chicago. Actually, that's where I ended up arriving first into the United States. And this friend of mine, we grew up in school in Mexico, but this guy, he was like hanging with not with the right crowd, and that's when I got introduced to gangs and that kind of lifestyle. And I was working like any normal, young kid, having a job. But during the night, it was a totally different lifestyle, like hanging in the hood with kids that they were in gangs and stuff like that. So then I began to get pursue that kind of lifestyle, partying, drinking, and smoking pot and cocaine and doing drugs and even like getting into fights and all that kind of stuff until I get in trouble, by blaming myself actually for a friend of mine trafficking drugs, and I got caught. When I was working, the cops arrived, and I was sleeping in his bed, and they caught me with some marijuana, and I ended up taking the blame because accordingly, when you are in those rules, you have to give your life for your gang, and it's supposed to be loyal, but it's not. At the end, I ended up in jail. And I was in jail in DuPage County, in Chicago, and Wheaton, Illinois, and so that's how I ended up having my life, coming to the United States. I was a very rebellious kid in Mexico. My dad was an alcoholic, but then my mom remarried to an amazing guy that I have the honor and the privilege to call him Dad, because he raised me, and I think I was not a good son. So I was very rebellious, and that pushed me to come here to United States.
At that point when you were young?
Yeah, just to run away from home, and I came here like very young. I was 17, almost to turn 18 years old.
Okay.
And not speaking English at all, and totally different country.
Yeah, totally.
And so I ended up being in jail and end up getting just processed and taking the blame for.
And how old were you?
At that time, I was turning 19, 19, close to 20 years old. Okay,
so you were here just for a couple years then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then after that, I remember I get out of jail, and then I got deported, back to Mexico. Okay. Yeah, and I was turning my 20s when I got deported back to Mexico.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because when I was in jail, I was a very racist guy. Gangs teach you to be racist, like you have to survive, with your clique, like
Who taught you to be that way?
or my gang,
Oh, your gang.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like in my gang, it was all Latins,
Okay, gotcha.
and Hispanics. We were not hanging with white people or black people, so I kind of like that that kind of fight about races. So there was this white guy, and now that I know, he was Christian.
Yeah.
And every time he comes to me and starts bothering me, hey, this is the time to get into the word of the Lord. And I'm like, oh, please leave me alone. I just don't want to know nothing about your God, and I'm my God. I don't need your God. I'm God. Okay. And he's like, and he was pursuing me. And one night, I remember he says, hey, I just want to tell you that Jesus loves you. And I say, dude, if Jesus loves me, I will not be here. I will be out of here, hanging with my buddies, doing what I love to do. Yeah. Having party. That would be a good sign that he really loves me. I will not be here. And then he says something that kind of pierced my heart, but I didn't show any feelings about his words. That he says, the reason you don't know probably the reason that God put you here is because He wants to stop you, because He probably has a calling in your life. And I'm like, oh, whatever. So that night I went back to bed and I had a dream. So in this dream I heard a voice. At that time I didn't recognize if that was the voice of God, or when you don't have God in your life, but I know it was a weird dream, because in this dream I heard this voice saying, hey, if you don't choose me, this is how your life is gonna look like. And I remember in my dream I was sitting like on a couch like this, and I was very skinny. I was drunk. I was just so drunk. And then I saw in my dream my two of my sons, the oldest and the youngest one. They were in this round table, and they were having like cocaine, and they were cutting the cocaine, putting it in backpacks and scale, and they have piles and piles of money, and they were drug dealers, and I started telling them, get out of here with your stuff and go and do it somewhere else.
In your dream. In
my dream, yes. Yeah. And I remember the youngest one telling my son, the oldest, says, just prepare a joint for him and he will be happy. So they give me a joint, and I start smoking, and then I say in my dream, oh yeah, this is what I want. And then I was totally fine. And then I saw my two of my girls entering the door of my house with companionship males, and then they start performing, sex in front of me. So, and then they got paid. So my girls, they were prostitutes. Yeah. And
this is all in your dream.
All of this is in my dream. Yeah. And then in the same dream, I don't know if you've been having those dreams that you have this dream and then you get transported to another dream. Yeah. That's what
inside of your same dream.
Yeah, inside of the same dream, I felt like I'll get transported to another dream. Yeah. And I heard the same voice saying, but if you choose to follow me, this is how your life is going to look like. Then I saw myself in a platform. It was like a platform. I was wearing a suit. I was wearing a tie. And I was having a black book in my hand. At that time, I didn't know it was the Bible. I can just tell there was a black book in my hand. But then I looked the black book. It was stick in my hand. And I see like thousands of people in front of me. I was like, what is this? And I see them with their hands up, like with their mouths open, and they were screaming in Spanish, give us, give us, give us. And then I'm like, oh, maybe this is what they want. And I try to throw them the book to them. And when I start doing this, I see like people falling to the ground and just falling to the ground. Like, what is this? Oh, something is in this book. So, and then the same voice says, now look back. And then I turn back and I saw my wife, but I can see her face. And then I saw my two sons and my two daughters behind me, like just raising their hands. And now I know they were worshiping God. Yeah. And then I wake up from that dream. So I went to this guy and I say, what are you doing to me? What kind of witchcraft is this? Yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I share my dream to him. And he says, dude, you need to come to Bible study. So I think that was the beginnings where God begins to pursue me, and I begin to go to Bible studies when I was in jail. And when I was in Bible studies, I feel peace. I feel very differently, very different. And once I was get out of the Bible studies and go back to my cell, I can feel like the anxiety, the depression, and just that anxiety of to be out of there. Yeah. And it was like, man, what's going on with me? So yeah, that's my dream. Then I get out of there, I get deported to Mexico. Then I came back to Houston. That's where my whole family is, in Houston, Texas. All of them, they were Christians. Yeah. And right there, that's when they start telling me about God. That you need Jesus, you need God in your life. And I still didn't want nothing to do with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what point did you get saved?
I got saved at the point where I remember we were working in roofing and siding, chasing storms all around United States, and I was in Cincinnati, Ohio. And before that, I remember when I was in Mexico, tried to cross the border again. I went to a Catholic church, and I have one of those Bibles that they give you in jail. And then I say, hey, if you bring me back to the United States, I promise you I will follow everything that's written in this book. Mm-hmm. So then I came here in front of the marshals of everybody. They let me just pass. Like I just told them, American citizen, they let me pass. And and it was totally God thing. And then when we were working, in Cincinnati, I remember immigration show up, and I was gonna get deported again, and then God says, I fulfill my promise. When you're gonna fulfill yours, Wow. But then after that, we went to a church in Ohio where this preacher, say, I want to pray for that young man. And when he prayed for me, I saw them surround me, and they were like speaking in tongues. Well, now I know this, they were speaking in tongues. At that time, I didn't know what was, speaking in tongues. But I opened my eyes because I began to feel fire all of my body, and I opened my eyes thinking, what's going on? What are they doing to me? And nobody was touching me. Mm-hmm. So something happened in me. I was like, what is this? So I started having a lot of questions, Mm-hmm. And then I started asking to my cousin, hey, what was this? What happened to me, man? I was feeling this. And then he's like, you need Jesus. You need Jesus. So we went back to Houston, Texas. And in Houston, Texas, I went to the church. I went to his church. And right there, that's when I give my life to Jesus. And I become born again.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing, Luis. Wow. Wow, your stories are epic. That's incredible.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Luis. I loved having you. I loved hearing your stories. They really are amazing and epic, and your transformation of where you lived with your lifestyle, and then after you chose Jesus. Oh man, just radical transformation. So thanks for joining us. I loved hearing it all.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor for me to share my story.
Yay. And you guys, thanks so much for joining us. I loved that you got to listen to Luis's story. It's really epic and amazing. And we'd love to have you come back next time.